Now, you've written about Joe Biden's catastrophic presidency and his shameful weakness in trying to reward Hamas with a two-state solution. You call the two-state solution a fairy tale and among the least successful ideas in the world. Tell my viewers why you don't think it's possible, why you consider it a fantasy.
Well, the first thing is that Western politicians keep talking about the two-state solution, have done all my life, as the magical solution to everything that goes wrong in the Middle East. They always have said left and right, conservative, Labour, they all, Republican, Democrat, they all say the same thing. They've said for years, decades indeed, if you have a two-state solution, then everything else in the Middle East will be fine. It was always a fantasy. The economy of Yemen is not going to blossom if the Palestinians get given another state. But, you know, they always said this. And so now what the very interesting thing that's happening, Rita, is that as Biden gets towards the end of this presidency, Blinken, his Secretary of State in particular, seems to have decided that the two-state solution, solving the two-state solution issue, which his predecessors tried so hard to do, should be his achievement. And he is sending out Lord Cameron, David Cameron, the British Foreign Secretary, as his sort of front man to float this idea. The problem is the idea stinks for two reasons very quickly. The first is, if the Palestinians were given another state today, it would be seen as a reward for October the 7th. The response of October 7th, the international community, it would be, let's give the Palestinians another state. That just incentivizes terror. The second thing, however, is, as I say in that piece, the Palestinians were given a state in 2005, a state where they had their own free and fair elections, and they voted in Hamas. And then they stayed in power for 18 years, and Hamas created a terrorist state, and they were not overthrown. And they started a war, which they're now losing. If they were given another state, yet another state, the Palestinians, this time presumably in the West Bank, all of Israel would be at risk from the same rocket fire, the same terror. I think it's totally it's just impossible, certainly now, for such a thing to happen. But I think that it's worth people realizing this and not taking part in this delusion.
Now, I've noticed in recent days you've come under fire on X, formerly Twitter, attacked by the left and the right. The left are enraged by your support of Israel and the West, and they've got segments of the right who are also very angry, Douglas, with you, and they're questioning if you can really be for free speech if you're part of a movement to, what they say, curb speech. Tell me about this emergency coalition against hate. Is there an inherent danger in trying to define hate and seeking to curb speech? And who gets to define hate?
These are all very good questions, Rita. No, I'm speaking in a couple of days in Canada at the launch of this new group. Canada has its own unique problems in free speech these days. And I think that it's extraordinary what has happened in that country. I spoke there a couple of years ago and made this point. I'll be making very similar points in a few days. My own view is, of course, as you know, that free speech is one of the most important bedrocks of our society. I don't think that it includes freedom to harass and freedom to intimidate and threaten and much more, which is what we have seen in the last number of months in Australia, in Canada, in Britain, and much more. I think that the outburst of anti-Semitism in the West in recent months has been documented now, is something that our society should be ashamed of. And I don't think we would have allowed it against any other group of people. I mean, if by now there had been repeated violence against, I don't know, Muslims, Black Brits or anyone else, LGBTQIA plus people, there would be an uproar, it'd be front page every day. We would be having inquiries into it. The police would be hauled in. But that, for some reason, is not the case when we've had now months in the West of people calling for incitement against a minority, Jews. And I think that in that situation, we do have to be clear and think openly and speak openly about where the lines are between actual free speech and what is clearly incitement, incitement to violence, and much more. I haven't changed any of my views, but I do notice as we go along this path, the number of people who get deranged along the path. I remain exactly where I have been on this.